Hey everybody, so in this video I want to talk about evolving skies and how I'm kind of changing my strategy because I'm actually floating the idea and really just kind of trying to maybe look out for some boxes right now that I think are a decent price. And I might be trying to move some money out of stuff like Brilliant Stars, which I talked about in another video. And I think somewhere I actually am okay potentially putting it is Evolving Skies, even at $1,300 a box. And today I want to talk about why I'm kind of coming to that conclusion. And obviously, like if reprints come and there are good prices on Scarlet and Violet sets, I think I'd actually prefer doing that. But again, I don't know what's going to happen with reprints. I don't know where prices are going to end up. So I will allocate some money to potentially move more into those sets. And the reason why investing into modern sets, in my opinion, is better than buying an expensive box like Evolving Skies. First of all, just liquidity reasons. If people are opening those sets, if they're in rotation, there are probably going to be a lot more people buying them. And then also just in terms of annualized ROI, what you could see in the short term, like 2, 3 years, you're probably going to see a higher percentage return compared to something like Evolving Skies. Once we see a lot of these booster boxes get over 3, 4, 5 years old, those ROIs annually do tend to come down, off their highs. For example, we will compare Evolving Skies today to Team Up, just because I think both of these are, pretty decent boxes to use as a comparison. Probably the best from their generations, some of the best sets of the modern era. Obviously, Team Up was short printed in comparison. There weren't as many booster boxes, or at least that's what people say, right? So, they are fairly similar, though. You have very strong cards in them. They're valued highly. And today we are going to look at the annualized ROI, and I'm going to kind of explain this because I probably didn't set this up the best. So again, over here you have the sets. I took the booster box price after 3 years from a lease. And obviously for annualized ROI, you need a buy price. So I used $100, say when the box came out, you could probably buy both of these for around $100. Again, if you wanted to put in 120 or whatever, or 130, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to change the point I'm trying to make too much. And then obviously 3 years after release would be February 1st, 2022 for Team Up because it came out February 1st, 2019. And then Evolving Skies, August 27th, 2024. So that was quite recently, right? And these were the booster box prices 3 years after release. So $711 for Team Up, $679 for Evolving Skies at the end of August last year. And you can see like already very similar in terms of booster box price 3 years after release. If we look at current booster box price, Team Up, probably somewhere around $3,500-ish dollars. If you go look at the most recent sale on eBay, it's actually 7,700 Canadian, which is way more than 3,500 USD. 3,500 USD is about $5,000 Canadian right now. So this would be, I don't even know, like what, 55, 52, 5,300 USD, something like that. Maybe a little bit less than that. But point being, this sale is kind of like way out there. Most sales are closer to 5,000 Canadian, 3,500 USD right now. But getting back to this, right? Evolving Skies, 1293. I took that from TCG Player. It sells a fair amount. And honestly, on eBay, it's pretty close to this number anyway, so that should be fairly accurate. When we look at the annualized ROI from release day up to the 3 year mark, Team Up had a 92.29% annualized ROI. And again, that's based on a $100 buy price, $711 after that 3 year mark. And for Evolving Skies, it was 89.36%. And again, $100 buy price, $679 after 3 year mark, so back in August last year. Since that 3 year mark onwards, Team Up has had a 67.1% annualized ROI. So again, you see that number come down, and it makes sense, right? Like you can't expect to keep that 100%, 90% growth year over year as the box grows in price, right? Like you'd have an insanely inflated box that would eventually reach the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and eventually millions of dollars. It is going to drop over time. But the reason why I am considering putting money into Evolving Skies, because again, I started the video out by telling you guys why I think going into Modern is good, just because you are going to have higher percentage returns more than likely in the short term. But we really don't know what's going on with Pokemon and where it's going to be over the next year or two. A lot of people are guessing, right? Everyone's saying, well, at the end of Scarlet and Violet era, things might slow down, but then maybe we might have a few sets in between Scarlet and Violet era, and then the next era coming out, and who knows how well those are going to do. Megas, maybe they do well. 30th anniversary next year. So I'm really just trying to hedge on what happens a little bit. And I think Evolving Skies is timeless. And if I can get somewhere near a 67% annualized ROI on Evolving Skies over the next 3 years, say it was even 65% or a bit lower, right? Like, again, they're fairly similar in terms of annualized ROI for the first 3 years, fairly similar boxes in terms of value, top chase cards inside. It's not unrealistic to think that Evolving Skies is going to see a fairly similar number and end up around this $3,500 price point in a few years. Again, tons of stuff could happen that will affect that. And even if that does happen, right, I still think Evolving Skies is a great place to put your money long term. Again, people are going to disagree. They're going to say that buying at this price. And look, guys, I get it. But this is kind of just a hedge against the uncertainty in the hobby right now. We really don't know what's going to happen with a lot of these SV era sets. We have no idea what Pokemon's going to do in terms of printing over the next couple of years, in terms of popularity in the hobby. And it really is up in the air. You guys are going to have to decide for yourselves. Again, I think Evolving Skies is a great set. The Umbreon's holding. The Rayquaza VMAX, I actually highlighted this one. Over $800 now in a near mid holofoil, according to TCG Player. And most recent sales from yesterday, $880, $870, $850, $950, $887. So pretty much closer to $900 and $800 based on recent sales. And maybe this is like one of the next cards to break through $1,000 in the Sword and Shield era. Like, is that really a possibility? I say one of the next, like, what, we only have the Umbreon, I think, right? Are there any other cards in this era? I don't think so. So maybe it is going to be the second card that breaks through the $1,000 price point in Sword and Shield era in a raw card. That would be very cool. And again, it's Rayquaza. It's a very popular Pokemon, so it wouldn't surprise me. It's a nice artwork as well. Again, if I do decide to buy some more Evolving Skies, it's not a certainty. I'm putting some feelers out there. I want to make sure I'm buying from someone who I trust. So anyone out there that actually has good connections, let me know. I would probably have to move some of my Brilliant Stars first, just to liquidate a bit more money. Because again, I am putting a lot aside as well for potential Scarlet and Violet reprints. I would love to get more Surging Sparks. I would love to get more Twilight Masquerade at a good price. 151 as well if that comes about. Prismatic also, depending on what happens. So it really just it depends on what happens, where reprints come, and what all transpires, I guess, right over the next 3 to 6 months. Not just for me personally, but also for Pokemon as a hobby. So I will leave it there. That's kind of what I'm talking about in this video. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. I still think Evolving Skies, $3,000-$4,000 within the next 5 years is very reasonable. And the last thing I wanted to touch on this video, I'm sure a lot of you guys watch Rob Burns, and he put out a video today saying he's leaving Pokemon investing. He touched on him doing a stream with the Poke Office, and there are a couple other people on there, and he talked about getting quite drunk and falling down and passing out on the floor or something, and then he goes into some things about why he's leaving the hobby, and also just in terms of the people in this hobby right now. He said it seems a bit toxic and how a lot of people are chasing views, and I honestly agree with a lot of what he said. And I never really interacted with Rob a lot, but I really respected what he was doing, and thought that he had a pretty good head on his shoulders. So I'm going to take a lot of what he said to heart and try and keep the banter to a minimum and the toxicity. Again, like I love talking shit on the internet. It's a toxic habit for me for sure, and I can understand where he's coming from, especially with I made videos in the political sphere on YouTube, and if you guys know anything about that, it's an absolute cesspool. Politics in general is just an extremely toxic thing. Outside of that, like, I resold full time for about a year, and I can really see the overlap in a lot of people that used to flip and just sell full time, and a lot of people in this hobby. So it's something that I'm gonna try and do better and move away from, just because a lot of what he says when he's talking about Pokemon and how we need to foster a better community, I actually agree with. And part of it I kind of disagree with as well. I think there are a lot of really good people in this hobby. For example, I really like watching Poke Chloe and Poke Dean, and watching their store POVs. I really love it. And I think if you get caught up in, also like Coop's collection, I think if you get caught up in just the investing side of the hobby, your perspective on what's going on would probably be quite skewed. I think there is still a ton of positivity in the hobby, and that's why I'm still really bullish on investing and just the hobby in general over the next 5 years. But again, like, get out of your echo chambers. Again, maybe even leave the hobby, right? Like if you're not having fun, if you're stressed out, if it's affecting other areas of your life, like I fully respect people taking a step back as well. I kind of did that in the middle of last year also, and I might have to do it again eventually. Who knows? But that's just what I wanted to say. Uh, I doubt Rob Burns ever sees this, but I watched a lot of Rob, and I wish him all the best. And for you guys as well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for everyone who keeps things positive and teaches me things. And yeah, I think we have a pretty good community here. Obviously, some bad apples that are always going to watch videos and stuff, but I think that's not really people who have been here from the beginning. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.